Bien, mesdames et messieurs, bonjour.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A few minutes ago, we held a major summit, and like I said upon arriving, it is, in my opinion, a summit of unity, of dignity, and of seriousness. It is about approving the agreement for the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union and the political framework for our future relationship. This is the agreement that's been approved by the 27th this morning. I would like to commend the outstanding work of Michel Barnier, of all his teams, of the teams of the European Commission and the European Council. And thanks to the European unity, we managed to negotiate a good deal, one that preserves our interests, our values, and also lays the foundation for a close cooperation with the United Kingdom. Please also allow me here to pay tribute to Theresa May, who, in every moment, while ardently defending her country's interests, has been looking for the path for sustainable cooperation with the European Union, which is our common good. And I would like to say that the United Kingdom will continue to have a place today and tomorrow with the role it will be prepared to assume and which may evolve in the family of European nations. Today is a major step, but we shall also prepare what is coming next. First of all, because the agreement has not been ratified yet, and second, because we haven't approved all of the details of our future relationship. And we, of course, would like to preserve our main interests in this framework. This is the reason why the 27 have approved a clear statement that provides the framework. And I would like to underline a number of points that were important for France. First of all, we want to make sure that there is fair competition, and the future partnership shall include provisions, strengthened provisions, that clearly protect our businesses and with a clear alignment, a sustainable one. Second, for fisheries, we will concentrate our efforts in order to obtain access to the British waters before the end of the transition period. And of course, all of our fishermen and our fisheries sector will be protected. Lastly, for compliance with the decision autonomy of the European Union. And these three topics are in the statement, the declaration approved by the 27 today. And I would like in the future, I would like us to use the same methodology, unity and common defense of our principles. Lastly, I believe that today we shall also learn the lessons out of the departure of a member state, a major member state for the first time in the European history. First, we shall understand that Europe is fragile, it is not for granted, and that we accordingly shall protect it against those who forget that it is a guarantee of peace and security for our continent. Paradoxically, the Brexit has underlined the value of this union, even though it is not perfect. We shall therefore understand that we need to reshuffle our Europe for it to better meet the aspirations of our people. Clearly, the Brexit is telling us that Europe was not reassuring enough and not protective enough of the peoples of each of our countries. This is also this project to reorganize Europe that shall be at the heart of our work for the coming months. I am now available to answer your questions. Sir. Good afternoon. A question from Pascal Verdeau, France Television. The question is to the lessons. I'm aware that you do not want to use a number of words, but the European Union, amputation. The European Union will lose part of its resources and 12% of its. So what are the consequences and the conclusions you're reaching? And also, is it profitable for France? Well, first of all, it is too early to say, and I cannot consider that for any member state whatsoever the departure, the exit of another member state can be profitable in any way. Like I said, we need today some dignity, and it is inevitably a sad moment. Europe cannot rejoice, but it is a sovereign decision that was taken, and we shall respect it. It is clear that once all the steps are behind us, it will change the balance and the organization of the European Union, but it is too early to say how. It will strengthen somehow the weight of continental Europe as to the laws and the regulations, and maybe pull it towards our approach. It will indeed have an impact on the GDP, but it is too early for us to say because we do not have all the parameters. But one thing is also about the future relationship that we will have. Should this future relationship be a very close one, the changes will not be the same. So, of course, there will be some consequences, and you rightly asked about them, but it is too early to bring a full answer. A question from Bloomberg. What if the House of Commons says no to this agreement? First of all, it is not for me to speculate as to the British vote. If that were to be the case, it will, first of all, be for Great Britain to make proposals. But we shall be prepared to any situation, and this is the reason why the French government has drafted a draft bill, but it is not for me today to speculate on a vote that belongs to the British people and to their representatives. It will be for them, if that were to be the case, to make some proposals. A question from C News regarding the divorce. Do you think it is painful enough so that it will lead some Eurosceptic governments to stay away from such an option, or do you think it is an encouragement for them? First of all, I believe that out of respect for the British people, we should not see it that way. Those who told the British people that it would be fast and easy lied to them. Because, as a matter of fact, for 2 years we've been negotiating. And like I said, today is a major step, but it's far from being the end. We still need ratification by the British Parliament, and then ratification on the European side as well, and the negotiation on the future relationship, because so far we only have a declaration. So there will be a period of time, an intermediate period of time, and as a matter of fact, this transition period shall start on the 30th of March. So it is much longer than what some allege, including those who were in favor of the Brexit during the campaign. Next, some said it would not cost anything, and it would actually bring about some positive financial elements for the United Kingdom. But the cost is huge, huge. And once again, those who said that the British people would save hundreds of millions of pounds or euros have lied. And the cost is in the agreement. So I'm not amongst those who are saying that it's nothing. Please, I insist upon the fact that it is taking more time, it is more expensive and more painful than some said, but we shall not, that being said, have a punitive approach in order for it to be a deterrent. Good afternoon. You said that all countries, including France, were preparing for the hypothesis of a no deal. In the absence of a deal, the French fishermen could lose access to the British waters as from the 30th of March. How can you reassure them? As from the 30th of March, we will be entering a transition period. For our economic players, it will be access till the 31st of December 2020 anyway. Then, if we have an agreement, we shall defend access to the British waters as being part of the overall balance, indispensable balance. And like I said, thanks to the declaration of the 27th, this has been acknowledged as a key point for the future negotiations. So please allow me to reassure them by telling them, first of all, that we are prepared for the possibility of a no deal, and then that even if there is a deal, their lives will not change till the end of 2020, and that we got the support of the 27 in order to defend the ambitious proposal I just described for fisheries. Many other countries are involved in that. It's relevant to them as well in the context of the future relationship.
Just wondering, how much help are you willing to offer Theresa May to push the deal through Parliament? So one of the reasons I ask is because your position on fishing has become quite an issue, and a really big one. So Scottish MPs are kind of very much rejecting it, and it's caused quite a lot of backlash. So how much help are you willing to maybe stand down a little bit to help Theresa May get the withdrawal agreement through Parliament? Thank you.
I don't want to interfere in the decision and the vote of the Parliament, but let me just remind you that you have a withdrawal agreement plus a declaration of intention for the future relation. It's not France. The 27 countries do back the position on fisheries I just mentioned. And you just have to take it, as we discussed and we agreed, an holistic approach, withdrawal agreement and future relations. And our position on future relations at 27 is very clear.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Jim Brunsden du Financial Times. S'il vous plaît, sur la pêche.
Question from the FT on fisheries. How much leverage does the EU have in order to exert pressure on the British people? Because it's very difficult, and Mrs. May's position on fisheries is very different from that of the European Union. Well, there are many other topics which are of relevance and of interest for Theresa May, and in agreement, each and every one shall explain what their positions are clearly. We've done it at 27 on fair competition, on fisheries, on the normative autonomy of the European Union. This is part of our lines, somehow, for the future relationship. And it is leverage because it is important as to our future relationship. And I do not understood that Mrs. May and those who support her very much wanted to stay in the customs union. They would rather favor new rules. Sir, what are the consequences on the coming European elections of the Brexit for the whole of the European Union, but also for the lists in France and more specifically for the list you support or supported by the République En Marche? Because the polls are not so good at the moment. First of all, looking at history, I believe that we should all consider that the polls regarding the coming elections in May are of little value because things very much move and get settled in the last weeks. Second, as to the lessons, like I just clearly said, it is not about choosing between a genuine European ambition and clear stances as to where we stand vis-à-vis Europe. What I mean is that in the context of the Brexit and our democracies, these European elections are not like others. We need to reorganize Europe. I've been saying it for a number of months. It needs ambition. It requires taking risks, ambitious risks, and it is an operational conclusion that I make.
You may know that last week Syria and Aleppo was attacked by anti-government forces with toxic gases, and more than 100 people are hospitalized. So I would like to know your reaction on this attack, and are you going to discuss this during the upcoming EU level meetings? Thank you.
I mean, obviously, I follow very carefully the situation in Syria, and we will discuss not just amongst European members, but as well with our different partners in the coming days about the situation. As you refer to this attack and the use of gas and chemical weapons, because it was disclosed recently, we don't have clear and sufficient information to comment, especially this information broadcasted and transmitted by Russia. Obviously, I want to reiterate here that France does condemn the use of chemical weapons, whatever the users are. And I wish that those who disclose this information and the potential use of chemical weapons could share all the information and transfer all this information, especially to the international agency in The Hague, in order to be absolutely sure that we identify the use of chemical weapons and can attribute it.
Béatrice Adjage, RTL. Monsieur le Président.
Question from RTL Radio. Mr. President, the Brexit has shown how much the United Kingdom is divided. London and the Midland on one hand, and the others on the other hand. What about the comparison with the Gilets jaunes, the yellow vests in France? Do you see a similar fracture in France between the capital and other territories? I do not think that we can draw a comparison and oversimplify things. It is true that the Brexit has expressed a lot of differences between the city and the rest of the United Kingdom, between the young people and the elderly or those older. So there are different readings of this vote, and it's been clearly analyzed in the weeks and months that followed. What it clearly shows, that being said, is that our duty is to succeed in bringing to the middle class, to the popular class, some prospects and an ability to build progress for themselves. This history of progress has structured Europe for 30 years after the Second World War. Then it fell apart in the crisis of the 1970s, and as a matter of fact, we haven't been able to bring about a new economic development model that would enable the middle class and the popular class to find their role. It is a challenge for all of those in all the leaders in France and in other countries, but I wouldn't want to isolate the cities on one side and the countryside on the other, because in some of our cities it is also very difficult, and in some of our territories some are successful. So some are being successful in the globalization, and for others there is no political or no society project, and there won't be unless we bring about a clear answer to our labor class, to our middle class, which means that we bring about an economic, social, but also cultural answer. And we shall also bring about some meaning. And it is not just a European summit that will enable us to solve all of these issues. A question from ANSA, Italy. You've met with the Italian Prime Minister today. What do you expect from Italy? The Italian Prime Minister said the atmosphere was rather good. What do you expect from them? What I expect from Italy is that precisely we can work together on all the solutions that will enable Europe to better deal with these challenges, that is cooperation policy and of progress on migration, ahead of our December summit, a better integration of the Eurozone, which is also a challenge for December, a good cooperation on the digital tax, which we also would like to decide upon, and all of these topics that will be on the agenda for the coming month. In the margins of the Council, indeed, we have a fruitful discussion with Mr. Conte, and we shall continue to work together. This is what I'm expecting from Italy, and this is also what Italy is fairly so expecting from France. That is cooperation around the table so that we can achieve some progress, not just on our joint agenda, but also as to what our peoples are expecting from us, which is to bring about solutions for Europe that works for all. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.